All right, so retirement. That thing we all dream about, like kicking back and finally having time for, well, everything. But lately, it feels like that dream's gotten a little, I don't know, foggy.
Yeah, definitely. Like a lot of things, our ideas about retirement, they need a bit of an update.
Exactly. And that's what we're diving into today with this article. It basically throws out the old retirement playbook and says, time for a rethink, folks.
And not just a little tweak here and there, it's saying the whole system, the one a lot of us were raised on, it might be shakier than we realize.
Yeah, for real. My grandparents would probably faint if they heard us talking like this. For them, retirement was a given.
Right. The gold watch, the pension, leisurely rounds of golf. It was the expected reward after decades of work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But this article, it's saying those pensions, the bedrock of that whole system, they're in trouble.
And it's not some far off problem either. It's happening right now.
So what's the issue then? Why are pensions suddenly so shaky?
Well, a couple big things, and they're kind of working against each other. First off, we're living longer, which is amazing, right?
Of course, that's a good thing.
Totally. But those pension funds, they were designed with a certain lifespan in mind. Now they got to stretch a lot further.
I see. So the money has to last longer.
Exactly. But here's the other side of it. Fewer people are entering the workforce, which means less money going into the system.
Okay, so wait, let me get this straight. People are living longer, drawing pensions for longer, but there's less money coming in to support those pensions.
You got it. It's a bit like, how can I explain this simply? Imagine a pizza.
Okay, I'm listening. I love pizza.
Right. Everyone loves pizza. So picture a giant pizza, right? But instead of getting bigger, it's staying the same size. Meanwhile, more and more people want a slice.
Okay, I get it. That pizza's not going to feed everyone as well anymore. So the slices, they represent the pensions, and they're getting smaller because there just isn't enough to go around.
Exactly. And to make matters worse, the article throws out a terrifying stat. In a few decades, there might only be 2 workers supporting each retiree. Just think about the pressure on those pensions, on those 2 workers.
Wow, 2 to 1. Yeah, that's a lot of weight on their shoulders and on those shrinking pension slices. So not the rosiest picture for our future retirement pizza parties then, huh?
No, not really. But
Yeah.
that's why we're having this conversation. We got to acknowledge the problem before we can start looking for solutions,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely. I'm all for solutions. So if the old model of relying on a pension is, well, no longer reliable, what's the alternative?
Mm.
Do we just start hoarding canned goods and hoping for the best?
Yeah.
Okay, so the retirement pizza, not looking so appetizing anymore. So what are we supposed to do? Ditch the pizza altogether?
Well, not necessarily, but we got to be smarter about how we prep for this feast, right?
Mm.
The old advice was always just save more, invest young.
Yeah, easier said than done, though.
Exactly. This article, it doesn't sugarcoat it. It gets into the nitty-gritty of, well, just how tough it is to save these days. Like the cost of living, rent, groceries, healthcare, it's through the roof.
Tell me about it. I swear, every time I go to the grocery store, my cart gets more expensive.
Right, and it's not just you. For a lot of people, their wages just aren't keeping up. It's like running on that, what are those things called?
A treadmill.
Yes, a treadmill. You're running as fast as you can, but the treadmill keeps speeding up. You're not really getting anywhere.
And then you fall off and are left with nothing but a bruised ego and a pile of laundry.
Mm. Well, hopefully not that bad. But you get the idea. It's disheartening, especially for, younger people who are just starting out.
I can't even imagine being in my 20s right now trying to save for retirement. It feels kind of, I don't know, impossible.
Yeah, the article hits on that feeling, this whole idea of working hard, saving your pennies, and then retiring comfortably. For a lot of people, it feels, well, unattainable, like a fairy tale.
So what are we supposed to do then? Throw in the towel and just, like, live for today?
Well, there's a balance, right? And that's where this article takes a really interesting turn. It's like, okay, so the old retirement model might be broken. That doesn't mean we give up entirely. Instead, they propose this whole idea of like life design.
Life design. So, like, we're designing a website, but for our lives.
Sort of. But instead of coding and stuff, it's about taking control, being intentional. It's about designing a life that's fulfilling and sustainable. And doing that now, not waiting for some distant retirement date.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this whole life design thing.
So instead of just focusing on the endpoint retirement, you zoom out. Think about your whole life, your work, your relationships, your passions. It's about aligning those things, finding work that brings you some joy, some purpose.
Hold on. So you're saying the key is to find a job you're passionate about. Isn't that a little, I don't know, idealistic?
Well, the article isn't saying everyone needs to quit their jobs and become like professional travelers or something. It's more nuanced than that.
Okay, so what you're saying is it's not about the job itself necessarily. It's about finding something you enjoy, something you find meaningful, even if it's not your main gig.
Exactly. The article uses this great example, the author's own story, actually. They had this whole traditional career path mapped out, but then life happened. There was an accident, unexpected, threw everything off course.
Oh, wow. So what did they do?
They had to pivot, had to find a new path. And you know what? It led them to something they'd always loved but never thought they could actually do. They became a writer.
No way. And it worked out.
It did. They found success, fulfillment, the whole package, all because they had to rethink their path. And they realized the traditional way wasn't the only way.
Okay, so this whole life design thing, I get it. It's about more than just the job. But let's be real. You still need money to, live. Bills don't pay themselves.
Oh, for sure. And the article doesn't shy away from that. It actually gets surprisingly practical in this section.
Oh, so less follow your bliss and more actual, like, financial advice.
Exactly. And you know what they say?
What's that?
A penny saved is a penny earned.
Okay, so the classic advice. Cut back on lattes, pack your lunch, and suddenly I'll be a millionaire.
Well, it's not quite that simple. The article frames it more as like being intentional with your spending.
Okay, so not just cutting back for the sake of cutting back.
Right. It's more about aligning your spending with your values, what actually matters to you. Maybe that daily latte brings you joy, and if it fits within your budget, great.
Yeah, I'm definitely not giving up my coffee anytime soon.
Exactly. But maybe, just maybe, there are some other areas where you're spending out of habit, not because it truly brings you joy. And that's where you can find some wiggle room.
Okay, I see, yeah. Like that gym membership I never use.
Exactly. That money could be going towards something you actually value.
So being more mindful, not necessarily becoming a monk and living on rice and beans.
Exactly. Now, there's another thing the article brings up that I think is super relevant these days, side hustles.
Oh, the side hustle. Everyone and their mothers seems to have one these days. Am I right?
It feels like it, right? But this article, it's actually very grounded about it.
Grounded how so?
Well, it acknowledges that no, not everyone is going to become an internet millionaire overnight with their side hustle.
Thank goodness somebody finally said it.
But it does stress the value of diversifying your income streams, even in small ways.
So it's less about hitting the jackpot and more about like having a backup plan.
Exactly. Building resilience both financially and in terms of, your skills and your options.
Makes sense. Especially if that traditional pension safety net might not be there.
Right. It's about taking control of your future, not just hoping for the best.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We talked about the shaky future of pensions, the challenges of saving, this whole idea of life design. What's the big takeaway you'd want our listeners to walk away with today?
The big takeaway, I think it's this. The future isn't something that just happens to us. It's something we create. Don't wait for retirement to start living a fulfilling life. Do it now. Find what brings you joy and purpose, even if it's just small steps at first. Design a life you don't want to retire from. That's the real goal, isn't it?
It really is. So to our listeners, instead of asking yourself, when can I finally retire? Maybe ask yourself, what kind of life do I want to build starting today? Because who knows, maybe that traditional retirement, the one we've all been picturing, maybe it won't even matter so much anymore. And on that note, we'll catch you in the next episode where we'll hopefully uncover even more fascinating insights. Until then, keep learning, keep growing, keep designing that dream life.